Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, man. Let's just get right into it, man.
Just didn't go our way.
I hate to play around.
I don't know how many different ways to say it, but it's
welcome back to the channel.
It was a special year, all things considered, and a new experience for me.
If you haven't known, the Warriors won the ring. You know what I'm saying? This is last year's playing tournament.
Rebound loan.
Was.
Tried to make the most of it. Come back, bottle this up. Everybody make the right strides. Take advantage of the summer, and you don't want to see us next year.
And that'll do it. It's over. The Golden State Warriors return to a familiar
over a year ago.
Top of the NBA world. The fourth title in 8 years. The Dubs dynasty is still very much alive.
That shit is so crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Right here now.
The Warriors are now the 2022 NBA
back to what it is before.
Somehow,
I didn't like the
this
camera
team that
last
was
one.
dead in the water just 2 seasons ago.
I didn't like the last camera angle, so I fixed it back, man.
Has been crowned NBA champions, but this team had
The
no
light was
business
terrible.
even
The light is
being here
great
in the
here,
first
man.
place.
Great
This
stuff.
Warriors team was never supposed to win this championship. A roster full of has-beens and fringe players making a run at a championship, it's impossible. Well, at least it should have been impossible. But they've got Stephen Curry. And as I was watching Steph completely dismantle the Boston Celtics on their home court to close out the finals, I thought to myself, I'll more than likely never see another player like this in my lifetime. What
That's a
Steph
full
is
fact.
doing
You're not
cannot be
seeing nobody like
duplicated
this
or repeated.
ever.
He is truly a one of one. And I think it's
So I'd be thinking like, yo, how basketball is gonna be 10 years from now when they gone? Like, who's gonna be doing the spectacular things? You know
time
what
we
I'm
take
saying?
a
Who's gonna
closer
be
look
doing the
at where he
spectacular
ranks among the
things?
greatest players to ever play this game. Because the Warriors should have never won this championship.
Yeah. Jimmy Highroller. The Warriors should have never won this championship. No cap, they shouldn't have. But fuck it.
Today's video is brought to you by SeatGeek. Code Jimmy.
Final seconds
Right
here
back
this
into it, man.
2018 NBA season. There's the buzzer. There's a new dynasty
Back to
in
back.
the NBA. The Golden State Warriors champions once again. Back-to-back titles, 3 in 4 years. And the latest with a sweep.
Do y'all
Yeah,
remember
JaVale.
exactly where you were and how you felt?
JaVale be going to be smart. JaVale McGee, he's smart. He be getting on the winning team. But this year, shouldn't have went on the Suns.
This
bro.
happened?
You should know
I
better,
do.
bro.
I vividly remember watching the
better.
Warriors dismantle the NBA year after year on their way to an all but certain championship. I remember sitting idly by as my favorite player was getting walked out of the building in the finals. It was inevitable, and it felt perpetual, like the reign of the Golden State Warriors was never going to end, and I would spend the rest of my days watching this unbeatable, unstoppable Goliath of a basketball team make quick work of every single organization that stood in their way. I felt hopeless. The Warriors pushed me to the brink of insanity, and it was never going to end. Or, at least, that's what I thought.
Ibaka trying to stay with Durant, knocks it away, and Durant slipping. Durant goes down, holding his leg.
Then the game right after, bro.
And a foul. And Thompson grabs his left knee.
The game right after. In the very next season.
He's holding that left wrist.
And that was it. A 5-year run, cementing their spot as one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history, all came crumbling down in a matter of moments. Goliath had fallen, and for the first time in half a decade, the door was open for other teams to win it all. The Raptors won their first championship in franchise history, the Bucks won their first championship in half a century, and the Lakers were crowned champions for the first time in a decade. The Dragon had been slayed, and I could now rest knowing the Golden
I ain't gonna lie. I really thought that this was gonna happen for a while. No cap, like, like, shit is crazy.
6 NBA finals in 8 years, 4 NBA championships, a remarkable run by any measure that only a handful of teams in the history of NBA have accomplished. Congratulations, you are the 2022 NBA champions.
I couldn't have been more wrong. Because somehow, despite injuries and roster changes and ups and downs and everything in between, the Warriors are champions once again. We said
bro.
they were getting too old. We said they were too injury prone. We said the roster looked like a G League team. We said they couldn't win without Kevin Durant. And they proved us all wrong.
Nah, but they did used to have people that nobody knows that was on the Warriors that got like 2 rings. Not a single one. Like
Just
at the end
last
of the bench.
season, if you told me the Warriors were going to win another championship,
You don't even know where they at right now.
This
They could be working at a job at
I would have
UPS or
checked
some
you into
shit.
a mental institution.
Okay.
They went from one of the best teams in the history of the NBA to the worst team in the NBA to champions again in record time.
That
Just
shit
take a moment
in
to
3 years,
appreciate
bro.
this roster that defied all odds and became champions. Out of the 14 players that suited up in the postseason, 6 of them had 0 playoff experience. Instead of seeking out the brightest stars around the league, the Warriors went and acquired players that fit within their system and maxed out their potential. They found value in guys like Gary Payton Jr. and Otto Porter Jr. They saw immense utility in guys like
They did got good players that could play defense and shoot the ball. Like, no cap.
Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole, and gave them a chance to shine on the biggest stage.
The
Even
only person that can't shoot for real is Gary Payton.
Andre Iguodala, the oldest player in the entire NBA, played a crucial role as a mentor and a leader for the Warriors throughout the playoffs. This was a masterclass on coaching, adjustments, and players buying into their role and maximizing their impact on the game. The catalyst of this improbable run, the once-in-a-lifetime talent of Stephen Curry. Before this year's playoffs, we were asked who had the most to prove and whose legacy would be altered the most with the championship. I thought maybe Chris Paul
For
Giannis,
sure.
James Harden, maybe
Chris
even
Paul for sure. Chris Paul for sure. Made it to the finals one year, your first ever finals. You flopped. You couldn't make it back. It's
Luka
tough.
Doncic. But the answer all along was Stephen Curry. Because now that he has a long-awaited, well-deserved finals MVP,
tough.
the man has
Tough,
done it
bro.
all. 4 championships, 2 MVPs, 8
Tough like me
All-NBA teams,
re-recording
8
this
All-Star
video.
appearances, 2
I
scoring
didn't hit the
titles,
record
an
button.
All-Star
Shit's
MVP,
crazy.
most 3-pointers in NBA history, and a finals MVP. One of the greatest careers the NBA has ever seen. And at 34 years old, he is still as incredible as ever. Now, as NBA fans, we have an unhealthy obsession with all-time rankings, moving players around on our all-time list every other week like some sort of sick game of musical chairs. But if
Yeah,
we're
they've been doing this all the time, bro.
going to be honest with ourselves,
week.
I think we can all agree that there are a handful of players that remain a step above everyone else. And these are those players. Now, where you choose to rank these players will be different depending on who you ask. Personally, I have them ranked like this.
You're the only one
this
that didn't move.
all-time top 10 has virtually remained the same for years. The
That's
most
crazy.
recent player to be on this list was LeBron James, who's been on it for about a decade now. And before him, the most recent players to join this exclusive club were Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant. Regardless of where you choose to rank these players among your all-time top 10, the players that make up
I don't know why Kobe's 5 though. This is his opinion.
this top 10 haven't budged in over a decade. Recently, I was tempted to add Kevin
His
Durant to
opinion.
this list, but realistically, I couldn't bring myself to remove anyone in his place, so he remains on the outside looking in. But after this championship run by Stephen Curry and his entire season as a whole, the time has come. It's time we add a new player to this list.
It's getting cut.
It's been a long time
Well-
coming, and it's well deserved. Stephen Curry is now undebatably a top 10 player of all time, and this season has cemented his spot on this list. Every all-time player has won with their respective organizations. This is a definitive requirement of greatness, but only a few players made such a massive impact that the success of an entire franchise began and ended with them. Tim Duncan introduced winning basketball to San Antonio. They couldn't win before he got there, and they haven't won since he left.
That's a fact,
Michael
they
Jordan
haven't.
didn't just win with the Bulls. He was the Bulls. Stephen Curry isn't just winning in a Warriors jersey. He is the Golden State Warriors. In
Yeah, he on the same
2009,
level as
he
Michael
came into
Jordan.
a struggling franchise, and over the last 13 seasons, he has turned
He
them
can't
into
leave.
a behemoth. See, it's one thing to come into a franchise that has seen success, one that has won before him and has championship DNA. It is a completely different accomplishment to be drafted to a franchise that has never even sniffed a title and turned them into a dynasty. Russell did it, Mike did it, Duncan did it, and Steph has spent the last decade doing
done
it as well.
right before
But you
our
don't
eyes.
have to
That's
watch
crazy.
Steph tear your favorite team apart to see his generational impact. Steph is as important to the Warriors' success as any player has ever been to any team in NBA history. Here's a chart of the top 10 players all time and how many wins they added to their respective teams over the course of their entire career. For example, throughout Wilt Chamberlain's career, his team won 7.5% more when he played versus when he didn't play. Shaq's teams won 15% more when he played versus when he was sitting out. Now, anything above 10% is incredible, and nearly all of these players are far above that threshold. When Kobe played, the Lakers won 21.5% more games than when he didn't. Larry Bird led to the direct result of the Celtics winning 22.8% more games. And, of course, the two players that had the largest impact on their team's success are Michael Jordan, with a large gap above everyone else, LeBron James. But the most important, most impactful, game-changing player for any franchise in the history of the NBA is Stephen Curry.
So
The Warriors win over 32% more games when Curry is playing versus when he's not. That is the equivalent of Steph adding an additional 26 wins for the Warriors over the course of each regular season of his entire career, just by himself. But this isn't some sort of theoretical impact found by just using numbers. We have seen, with our own eyes, just how lost the Warriors are without Steph. 2 years ago, just 5 games into the Warriors season, Steph broke his hand and was sidelined for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, he got a free
and
vacation
in that
type
season,
shit.
the Warriors weren't just bad. They weren't just one of the worst teams in the NBA. They were literally, by far, the worst team in the entire
And they got
league.
James
The
Wiseman
very
for
next
it.
season, Steph returned to the lineup and the Warriors' winning percentage more than doubled.
Then got
And,
Jonathan
well,
Kuminga.
the rest is history.
Like,
No matter
two
which
good
players
players.
come and go, regardless of how the roster changes around him, Steph remains at the center of one of the greatest dynasties in NBA
Like, that
history.
shit is crazy. They
The Warriors
drafting
should have never
process
won
is
this
crazy.
championship. This title was not in the cards for them. A long shot at best. Just 10 years ago, it was almost unanimously agreed upon that a team could not win a championship off of three-pointers and jump shots. It was believed that you could not win a title with a point guard doing the heavy lifting for your offense. 2015 was a fluke. 2016 was a blown lead. The next two, well, those don't really count, right? They had Kevin Durant. All they do is shoot threes. They'll never win again playing that style of basketball. The Warriors aren't even a true contender. They're getting old. Be a finals.
I wouldn't bet against us.
But yeah, man, you made it to the end of the video. I hope you liked the video. Make sure you hit that